Whatever the struggle, Diane Westlake writes, we must continue the climb. The summer I was told by the prioress of the community that I would not be allowed to pursue a degree in creative writing and was sent instead to be third cook at a children's camp. I walked the banks of the creek that ran through the camp morning after morning, fighting waves of depression, angry about where I was, and totally uninterested in anything going on around me. There was nothing there that gave me joy, nothing I wanted to do, nothing that could ease either the pain of the loss or the fear of a future that meant, obviously, simply more of the same. Life seemed for me to have ended in mid-air. Indeed, struggle marks us in ways we don't always even realize when it happens. Years can pass before we begin to comprehend the marks and scars struggle hews out of the flesh of our lives. It leaves us wounded and chastened and different for the rest of our days. After he died, we hear a woman say, "I was never the same again." When I didn't get the position, we hear a professional say, "It took the heart right out of me. I lost interest in everything." When we split up, we're told, "My life ended." Clearly, struggle brings us to crossover points in life, after which we become new people, sometimes worse, often better, but always different. Struggle shapes us and reforms us and shapes us again. It is the potter's kiln of life, the heat that creates the color and the quality of the glaze we call our years. But the heat of the potter's kiln also shrinks us down to size. Struggle changes us. It grows us up. It takes the dew off the rose and the gilt off the silver. It turns the fantasies of life into reality. But struggle does more than that. Struggle cultivates in us the kind of depth that comes from knowing pain as well as pleasure. After that, we develop a vision in life as well as expectations. We have insight now as well as experience. We acquire understanding as well as endurance. We grow in compassion for others as well as we grow into character ourselves. Indeed, struggle not only transforms us, it makes us transforming as well. Once we have truly struggled ourselves with something that stretches the elastic of the Spirit, we are worthy to walk with others in their struggles too. Then we're ready to listen. Then we're able to lead. When we know the meaning of what it is to struggle with something in life, we have finally become totally human. Wrestling with God is of the essence of life. In the process, we learn things about the self, and we come to understand some things about God as well. It becomes very clear after a while. God is not a puppeteer. God is not a magician. Our lives lie in our own hands, and we will have to take charge of them before anything important about them can really come to resolution. Struggle is the process that drives us to find God within us and in the darkness that surrounds us. The 12th century Persian poet Rumi put it this way: I saw grief drinking a cup of sorrow and called out, "It tastes sweet, doesn't it?" "You've caught me," grief answered, "and you've ruined my business. How can I sell sorrow when you know it's blessing?" There is beauty in the dark valleys of life. It's called hope. The spirituality of struggle gives birth to the spirituality of hope. The fantasy writer Margaret Weiss wrote, "Hope is the denial of reality." I completely disagree. Reality is the only thing we have that can possibly nourish hope. Hope is not based on the ability to fabricate a better future. It's grounded in the ability to remember with new understanding an equally difficult past, either our own or someone else's, that became new life, more life than we could have ever thought it might. The fact is that our memories are the real seedbed of hope. They are the only things we have that prove to us that whatever it was we ever before thought would crush us to the grave, would trample our spirits into perpetual dust, would fell us in our tracks, had actually been survived. And if that is true, then whatever we are wrestling with now can also be surmounted. Hope lies in the memory of God's previous goodness to us in a world that is both bountiful and harsh. The God who created this world loves it and loves us in it, but at the price of our own effort, at the cost of our own craving for more of the vision, more of the depth, more of the truth of this life. Hope is not some kind of delusional optimism to be resorted to because we simply cannot face the hard facts that threaten to swamp our hearts. Hope rides on the decision either to believe that God stands on this dark road too, waiting to walk with us toward new light again, or to despair of the fact that God, who is faithful, is eternally faithful and will sustain us in darkness one more time. Hope and despair, you see, are not opposites. They are cut from the very same cloth, made from the very same material, shaped from the very same circumstances. Every life finds itself forced to choose one from the other, one day at a time, one circumstance at a time. The only difference between hope and despair is that despair shapes an attitude of mind. Hope creates a quality of soul. Despair colors the way we look at things, makes us suspicious of the future, makes us negative about the present. When tragedy strikes, when trouble comes, when life disappoints us, we stand at the crossroads then between hope and despair, torn and hurting. Despair cements us in the present. Hope sends us dancing around dark corners, trusting in a tomorrow we cannot see, because of the multiple paths of life made new, which we also cannot forget. When I say that I am in despair, I am really saying that I have given up on God. Despair says that I am God. And if I can't do anything about this situation, then nothing and nobody can. But life is not one road. Life is many roads, the walking of which provides the raw material out of which we find hope in the midst of despair. Every dimension of the process of struggle is a call to draw from a well of new understandings about life, about God, about ourselves. It is in these understandings that hope dwells. It is that wisdom that carries us beyond the dark night of struggle to the dawn of new wisdom and new strength. God with us then, we have survived. God with us now, we will survive. The spiritual task of life is to feed the hope that comes out of despair. Hope is not something to be found outside of us. It lies in the spiritual life we have cultivated within. The whole purpose of wrestling with God is to be transformed into the self we are meant to become, to step out of the confines of our certainties and allow our God to go on creating in us. No doubt about it. It is hope that enables us to continue the climb, knowing that it may be only one more step to the summit.